For the second time this season, Cooper Flagg has won ACC Player of the Week and ACC Rookie of the Week, fresh off his 42-point performance against Notre Dame. The Blue Devils get set to take on Miami a little bit later tonight, but they'll be without Maliq Brown. What does that mean?
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So excited to have you here with us on Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. And on today's show, I've got my good buddy Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated back with us to talk about Duke's win over Notre Dame this weekend, Cooper Flagg's outstanding performance, but Duke is now going to be without Maliq Brown for quite some time. So what does that mean for this basketball team? How can they improve moving forward? And we'll discuss all of that and so much more here on today's show. Again, thank you so much for your support here within our program. A special shout out to all of the everydayers out there, as Locked On Blue Devils is your team every day. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to us for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review on the Apple Podcast platform. And then like our show on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting closer to 3,000 subscribers, and that's a milestone I can't wait to celebrate with all of you. And also share this video with your friends. We're on X at LO_Blue Devils. So without further ado, let's bring him on into the program. The aforementioned Conor ONeal is here with us today. And Conor, a big win for Duke over Notre Dame, and even better performance from Cooper Flagg, who just the run that he is on as of late. My word, man, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it's almost as good as your run. I can remember when you were plugging people to get to 1,000 subscribers. Now you're at 3,000. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. Absolutely.
Like Cooper turned 18 and learned how to shoot a 3-ball. It's obviously not that simple, but that was something you come across when you're staring at stats until your eyes get crossed.
Yes.
He was like a 24.5% three-point shooter as a 17-year-old this year. He's played 5 games as an 18-year-old, including the one on his birthday. And he's 10 for 17 since that game against Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I don't know what clicked. I don't know if it was just a comfortability, but he has become such a more efficient player. And really the tour de force, the piece de resistance of that was 42 points against Notre Dame. I think John has said with the assist number, he was responsible for either 60 or almost 60 points. It's just a ridiculous number to put up when your team scores. What do they have? 86?
86, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of, we don't run out of words because he is a phenomenon. I was talking with Jordan last night, actually. I think we can use the word generational with him. Like he is that good. He affects the game in that many ways that I think he is not once in, I mean, Victor Wembanyama is 2 years into the NBA.
Yeah.
But he's in an elite category. He is a very special player, and we're going to see another 2+ months of him. So It's going to be fun to watch.
It was one thing to get these big performances in big primetime games, and then, of course, you've got kind of the late turnovers that he had in some of those games. But even still, when he's playing well, there was almost a lack of highlights, so to speak, in some ways. And now he's fresh off this Pitt monster poster dunk that we're going to be talking about for years and years to come, and then follows that up immediately by a 42-point performance against Notre Dame. Now he's finally, in addition to being a great player, in addition to being the likely number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, now he's getting these just so-called moments that are much easier for everybody to recall and think about when they hear Cooper Flagg and they start to picture him in that Duke uniform.
Yeah, and when you put it that way, that's the Zion comparison was never fair to Cooper. It was never fair to Zion. Like, he transcended college basketball for a year. You had Obama showing up to watch a game in Cameron. I don't know if Obama's going to show up to watch Cooper Flagg this year. It'd be cool if he did, but
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the path we're headed on.
probably not likely. Yeah.
Where you're talking about, like, we have moments that we're going to talk about for years and years. That's where I think of Zion. Like, we're still talking about Zion dribbling through Virginia and flushing on Jay Huff. And we're still talking about the 360 dunk. We're still talking about, for better or worse, the shoe blowout and missing games at the end of that season. We're still talking about the ACC tournament game that he actually did play against Carolina. And lo and behold, that's where the ACC tournament is again at the end of this season in Charlotte.
I saw people talking the other day about the blocked 3-point attempt that Zion had where he's in the perimeter out to the corner. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's a media room favorite when we bring up the Zion moments. But yeah, it's honestly maybe the key to unlocking these moments for Cooper is getting him pissed off.
Yeah.
He got worked up and fired up early in the second half of that Pitt game because he got called for his third foul, and him and John were both pretty perturbed by it. Then, in a matter of 30 seconds, he's going down and stealing the soul of one of the Diaz Graham brothers. So they had to split the souls, and they're now sharing half a soul. Yeah. And then he got, I think he was kind of perturbed by Notre Dame just telling him, like, we're going to live with you shooting threes. Because that's what got him going, hitting the 2 corner threes there early in the first half. Like that's, I don't blame Notre Dame. Like, I can understand why Notre Dame says we're going to live with you shooting out there. But that is something that, like, players take that to heart. Players notice. How much did we talk about Mark Mitchell noticing it last year when teams were sagging so far off him? And so if Cooper sees that again this year and he gets hot, I don't know if we can expect another 42-point game, but I would expect another 30-plus.
And then now much of this lines up with the greater National Player of the Year discussion that's had within Cooper Flagg and just the kind of trajectory that he's on throughout the course of the season. I did the math on yesterday's show talking about, get 15 regular season games left, 3 possibly in the ACC tournament if you were to get all the way to the final. And hopefully from the Duke perspective, you've got 6 games in the NCAA tournament. So still a long way to go. More games left to be played if Duke is to get to their ultimate goal than games that they've even played so far. But when you look at Cooper Flagg and what he's on, trying to be just the 4th freshman ever in the men's side of things, joining Kevin Durant in 2007, Anthony Davis in 2012, and then Zion Williamson in 2019. Paige Beckers on the women's side did it a few years ago. But to win the National Player of the Year award as a true freshman, over the weekend, Johni Broome goes down for Auburn. He's going to be out indefinitely. And now it's a greater opportunity, as if he needed an opportunity for people to be talking about him more frequently. But it's kind of there for Cooper Flagg.
Yeah. God, it felt like there were maybe 20 or 30 minutes real time that elapsed between the end of Cooper's game and Johni's injury.
Spot on, Conor. Yeah, I mean, good point.
Yeah, that sucks because I would want the 2-headed race. I would want them going back and forth. Like, Cooper puts up some crazy number on Tuesday night and Johni Broome puts up a crazy number on Wednesday night. I'm hoping that it's not as severe an ankle injury as it looked and as the initial reports seemed to make it out to be. But yeah, at this point, I mean, it's Cooper Flagg for National Player of the Year. I don't know that anybody else comes close to the level that those two were playing on. So as long as Johni is out, then it's going to be a whole lot of Cooper, and the people that can't stand how much Duke gets talked about on broadcasts that don't even involve Duke are going to really struggle for the next few weeks, if not longer.
Yeah, especially for an Auburn team that's now, the number 1 team in the country. They're going to be playing tonight against Mississippi State in a top 15 tilt, and no Johni Broome for the Tigers. And so a greater opportunity for Flagg as Duke also plays a little bit later tonight against Miami. So let's continue this discussion. Now the Blue Devils are without Maliq Brown. That could be something to watch for the Blue Devils in the games to come. And we'll have that conversation with Conor ONeal after we take our first break here on today's show. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at WayFair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, WayFair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm right now currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and budget. My favorite part? It's got to be the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, we're back with Conor ONeal from Devils Illustrated, and Maliq Brown was injured in the win over Notre Dame for the Blue Devils. Only played 1 minute out there on the floor, so in so many ways, Duke has this victory without his presence. He's already missed one game this season, and now we're learning that he's going to be out for a little bit of time here. Kind of catch us up to speed, Conor, as to the injury itself and what this means for Duke.
Yeah, it was a late shot clock drive by Mason Gillis, and he kind of just penetrated into the middle of the lane and got a friendly roll off the front of the rim and in. And as he fell into the back of Maliq Brown's right knee.
Friendly roll on the shot, not a friendly fall.
Friendly roll and friendly fire on the same play. So it didn't look like all that much. Like if memory serves correct, they both kind of struggled to get to their feet. And if you watched it the first time and you knew that only one Duke player got hurt on the play, you might be inclined to think it was Mason Gillis and not Maliq. But he came out of the game, was ruled out by ESPN in the first half. Like it was a pretty quick machination of, okay, there's Maliq Brown going to the locker room. Some time passes, and then okay, Maliq Brown's out for this game.
Done for the day, yeah.
So that's never a good sign. We got word yesterday from John Shire on the teleconference that he has a sprained knee. John said he will miss weeks, and it'll be possibly even longer. The one bit of kind of newsy information yesterday was it kind of confirms what maybe your eye test would have showed you over the last month. I don't think John echoed this. I didn't think Maliq had fully recovered from the toe injury that cost him the Incarnate Word game back in December.
Yeah.
I thought he was not as explosive. He was not as fluid in his movements since returning from that game. So they're going to take it really precautious with this. Like they're going to make sure he is 100. It's like the way I worded it, I think is they're going to be 100% that he's 100%. Like they're not going to rush him back for the first Carolina game. I believe is February 1st.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to miss him, but it's also it's a long play, and sometimes I think I'm a little too harsh on the ACC, but I don't know a better way to say this. That I want to be realistic. Also, Duke can win the ACC without Maliq Brown playing another game. Like they're that much better even without him as a defensive savant, as the anchor on that second unit's defense. Like this team without him playing another game in the regular season can win the ACC regular season championship. Obviously they don't want to miss him for the next 14 games.
Right.
But there's no rush to get him back. There's nobody's going to be forcing him into making a quick decision, making a rush decision to come back. In the meantime, it's more minutes for Kaman Malawach, and it's time to step up for Patrick Ngangba.
And that's going to be an opportunity for both of those guys to kind of make an impact and leave their mark. Malawach continues to get better game by game. He's been on a great run, as has Cooper Flagg in so many ways of late. It's been the freshman kind of leading the way throughout the course of the year. And I think that's got to be you're excited for what you've seen out of Maliq from the Duke side of things, and knowing that there is the greater opportunity. Yeah, I want to get to Pat a little bit later, but for Maliq in particular, Conor, I mean, game by game, offensively, his teammates are helping him out a little bit by, throwing the ball up to the rim when the opportunities are there and whatnot. But then he's still able to make such a big impact defensively as well.
It's funny. I mentioned the Incarnate Word game. That was the one, I believe his previous season high came in.
Yeah.
He had 17 in that one. And what was really funny, he had 19 for the record against Notre Dame. We were talking to guys in the locker room after the Incarnate Word game, and I was talking to Sion James about Common, and part of what John had told us and part of what Sion then told us was they missed him on lob attempts. Like they were acutely aware of how often they were not finding him on those lobs. And this was back like December 10th.
Crazy.
Sion had this great quote. Sion is a great guy to talk to in the locker room. He had a quote that was like, yeah, sometimes we forget how athletic he is and how easy it should be to just throw the ball to the rim, and there's a 7-2 guy that's going to catch it and dunk it. Like it's easy offense. And it had clearly been emphasized to them that, hey, we need to hit Kaman on more of these roles. We need to hit him like he was more of a weapon in the first month of the season than Duke showed him to be. And now you think about where we are and where we've been in the last month. He just scored 19 points. The game before that against Pitt, he had 11. He had a 15-point game down in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. I mean, he's been used, right? Like they're actually following through on course correction
of
nice. What they were missing in that first month of the season. And man, I mean, he is like he is a weapon. He's not just a big stiff in there. And then you get to the defensive end of things where, the really interesting part of Duke's past week is they had switched 1 through 4 with Kaman up until the Pitt game. Like they had not done much 1 through 5 switching. Every team wants to be able to 1 through 5 switch. It's really hard to do. And then all of a sudden against Pitt, there's Duke 1 through 5 switching with Common Maliq guarding, Jalen Lowe and Ish Leggett, like good ACC guards.
Yeah.
He's not shutting them down in the same way that Derek Lively did 2 years ago. And ironically, I always think of the Derek breakout game as coming against Pittsburgh 2 years ago, around the same time of year too. But Kaman stayed in front of him. Like he held his own on the perimeter. He wasn't a liability out there. And so now you open up that option. Obviously, in the Notre Dame game, or in the Pitt game, you don't know that you're doing that with Kaman to set him up for what he's going to have to do without Maliq Brown moving forward. But man, it's so encouraging that they also have that card to play. Like they don't just have to play drop coverage with Kaman because he's only valuable defensively when he's got a foot in the paint, when he can be a rim protector. Like he can get out there and guard on the perimeter. He can disrupt things, 20 feet from the bucket without drawing a cheapy foul. So his development is, they've got to keep that on track. Like this injury kind of takes away the safety net of, okay, Kaman got 2 quick fouls. Now we turn to Maliq Brown for the rest of the first half and we're fine.
Yeah.
That's removed, but I think the development track with Kaman keeps this from being that big of a deal that Maliq Brown is going to be out.
Well, now let's look to the Duke side of things. Another freshman, and Pat Ngamba II is going to get much larger opportunity here. And what does it mean for the Blue Devils as they get set to take on Miami a little bit later tonight? We'll finish that conversation and wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils here in just a moment. Let me tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, attending the new 12-team college football playoff is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Hard to believe it, but we're only down to 2 teams left in the 12-team college football playoff as Notre Dame will take on Ohio State for the national championship. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. Go ahead and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, go ahead and create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Game Time is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Duke is back in action a little bit later tonight against Miami. A pretty poor Miami team that the Blue Devils will see inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. But there's more opportunity for Patrick Ngama II to get some run. He had been injured kind of leading into the season. Now he's gotten to play a little bit more. Even before the Maliq Brown injury had taken place, there was a couple of games where we got to see Big Pat roll into the basketball game for the Blue Devils. And now he's got a larger opportunity, Connor.
Yeah, I think the one thing you have to remember about this is John telling us when Big Pat was first making appearances back in November, he's on a minutes restriction all year. Like there is not going to be a game where Kaman is in such foul trouble that he's only able to play 15 minutes and Pat Gongba plays 23 minutes. I don't know what the minutes restriction is. I've got to believe it's somewhere in the range of like 10 to 15 minutes. I think that's his max. So you're not going to see a big, Pat Gongba saves the day by playing starters minutes in any of these games. I don't think that's the case. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before. It happens. I'm certainly wrong about Cooper Flagg. My preseason prediction on Cooper was that he wasn't going to average more than 15 points a game, and he's blowing that out of the water. So the big thing with Pat is it's important that they got him the minutes they did when they did. He did play, I think, now that I mention it, I do think he played 17 in that Incarnate Word game back in December when Maliq was out. 17 against Incarnate Word. So maybe it's more than 10 to 15. But I think the ideal situation for Duke is Kaman plays 25, 27, 30 minutes. 32 against Notre Dame was his season high. And obviously he played well in the 32 minutes. I think you get anywhere from 6 to 12 minutes out of Patrick Gongba. We've seen his feel for the game. He's good at the tip outs. He had a great post move the one time they ran a set for him and gave him the ball in the low post against Notre Dame.
Yep.
Scored over a guy. So he's going to be able to help when he's in there. And then I think you're also going to see a little bit of Mason Gillis at the 5. And as weird as that sounds to say about a 6'5" or 6'6" guy that has also probably played some 2 and 3 for Duke this year, like that's going to be done in part to not screw up where Cooper Flagg is and how he's playing right now at his position. And it's also going to be done because Mason can handle that. Like he is an experienced player. He is a solid, it's a solid base. The thing that you love seeing with Mason and Sion when they're guarding the low post, they can handle their own down there because they're strong, grown men who are, 22 and 23-year-olds. You're not asking a freshman to go down there and guard like Lynn Kidd is going to be the opponent tonight. Lynn Kidd is 5 years in college. Like he's been in a college weight room for 5 seasons. you want grown men to defend those types of guys if you're asking them to play out of position, which Duke will be with Mason, and I think you'll see a little bit of Sion on there, but that probably be in the flow of switches.
All right, so it's Duke and Miami tonight from inside Cameron Indoor, a late one at 9 p.m. As you do for every single Duke game throughout the course of the year, Connor, you're going to have plenty of coverage for people to follow along with. How can they do that? How can they best support you?
Yeah, hop on over to Devils Illustrated. It's duke.rivals.com. There's a story on Maliq Brown up from yesterday, filed from somewhere in Northern Virginia as I was traveling also. And then there's a in-depth preview. You'll want to tap into that. My goal is to make you a smarter fan. So I want to give you the things that you need to look for in the game. And I want to tell you about the other team and how they match up against Duke. And I think that's all there in the preview for the game.
Thanks for being on the show today, Connor. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Thanks, JJ. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Conor ONeal joining us as he always does here on Locked On Blue Devils. Again, go check out his work, duke.rivals.com. It's Duke in Miami tonight. Our friends over at FanDuel have the Blue Devils favored by 23.5 points. Hopefully, we're on our way to the 7th ACC win of the season for Duke basketball. Be sure to follow us wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Subscribe there and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.